Well, your answers are in from last week's poll, and I'm glad you chose the one that you chose because we have had some very interesting questions about this before. I ordered CG500 and now I've received 2 and neither of them work. What's going on? I want to stick some rhinestones on my teeth. Should I use CG500? I want to bling my Eras Tour outfit, but you've told me to do Hotfix and there are so many different tools I don't know what to do. My glue gets all over the place. What do I do? Which glue should I use for glass? Which glue should I use for plastic? Which glue do I use? Which glue do I use? Everybody calm down, I'll make it all make sense. This episode is dedicated to the subject of glue, so let's get stuck right in. I'm not even sorry. Let's start with a great beginner's glue. The Tack Tacky glue comes in 2 sizes, the small that comes in 2 pack sizes and the large one that comes in a bottle. When you receive this glue, you will find it sealed on the inside, so you will need to break that seal like a tube of paint with the sharp bit on the inside of the lid. Thanks to the tube's precision applicator nozzle, it's a good all-rounder glue because you can buy this one tube and it has everything you need in one item. However, it is worth knowing that Tack Tacky glue does not dry waterproof, so it will rehydrate if it comes into contact with water. The larger bottle of the Tack, however, does have a nozzle, but it's not as accurate. So when placing a line of glue using this, you'll find it can be a bit splodgy, so you're better off using the syringe applicator to recreate the accurate point of glue. Tack is considered the beginner glue because it will work on almost all of the surfaces. As long as it doesn't get wet, you could create masterpieces like this with it. If you're after a slightly stronger glue and want to avoid resins, the Ninja Super Tight Fusion Tack is a great place to start because it is an industrial strength fabric glue. It dries clear and it dries slightly flexible, however that nozzle is a little bit wide, so we do recommend putting it into the syringe like you can see in the smaller video, because you can see from the nozzle that's straight from the tube, it has more quantity instead of accuracy. Because it dries waterproof as well as slightly flexible, it makes it great for fabric embellishments and can also work on crystals, plastic, metals, synthetic textiles, wood and leather surfaces, which can be quite tricky. So if you're looking for a great all-rounder glue with fabric in mind, you can use Ninja Super Tight Fusion Tack. So when it comes down to tacky glue, what exactly is the difference when it comes to Tack and Ninja Super Tight Fusion Tack? Because they're both technically tacky glues and they do both work on all of these surfaces. However, in my personal experience, I tend to favour the Super Tight Fusion Tack because it will survive a little bit more wear and tear than the Tack in the long run, I feel. And I like the fact that it works on fabric and is waterproof, though the Tack is really great on things that are going to be ornaments. Also, both do dry completely clear, as you can see on this now dry sample. If I hold it up to the camera, you can see all of them are now shimmering and clear. The ones lower down are the resin glues, and these ones at the top are all of the ones that were white when we laid the glue down onto the paper. There are quite a few different resin glues out there, so I've chosen to start with the E6000 Plus resin glue because it's the most universally friendly out of the options because it comes pre-mixed in a tube for easy application. However, that nozzle is a little bit wide, so if you're going to use just the tube, it might be worth putting out a large amount and then spreading it with an applicator. You can also put it into a Crystal Effects applicator syringe. These packs we also sell, and you get a few syringes in the pack along with a few nozzles that come in different sizes. Now don't be put off, I know they look pretty medical, but these are craft syringes and the E6000 Plus resin glue is the best fit for this syringe tip. You can literally attach them together like that, press on the tube and pull on the plunger, and the glue will transfer into the tube with minimal exposure to the air. And then that little air bubble, you can just pull on the plunger and push it back out, and then the syringe is loaded with glue. And the only choice left is which applicator tip you will select for your syringe. The black stopper ones are ways to protect the glue from the air when you're not using the syringe, and then you can change over to, in this case, the 18 gauge pink applicator tip, which I like for its accuracy, and the 20 gauge applicator tip is for extra fine details. And now that you have your applicator syringe fully loaded with E6000 Plus resin glue, you can start applying a much finer line of glue and accurate points of the glue, making it perfect for most embellishments, including some of the hardest surfaces to embellish, like crocs. These are notorious. You do need to sand them first, but E6000 Plus will work on this surface. The key really is that sanding though, because you can see in this smaller video, if you don't sand it, the glue doesn't quite grip properly. So even if you are using the right glue, it can still just peel off. The importance of sanding cannot be overstated, especially if the item needs to flex. For hard-wearing surfaces that are allowed to stay solid, I really recommend the CG500 two-part epoxy resin glue. When you buy it, you will find you have two separate tubes, one is silver, one is white, and the silver one is the epoxy resin, which you will mix in a 50-50 ratio with the hardener, which you will find in the white tube. And just like normal paint tubes, these will need to have the seal broken using the pointy bit inside the lid. And once you have the tubes open, you will see that the hardener has a slightly golden amber hue to it, and I could have cut this moment, but it's just too satisfying. The epoxy resin that you will find in the silver tube will come out completely clear, so that's a great way to differentiate them when you've got them in your workspace. And the way this glue works is you need to mix the two together to create an active glue, and we recommend a 50-50 ratio. However, you can tweak the ratios if you want it to dry quicker or slower. However, it is worth knowing that the 50-50 ratio does give you over an hour of active embellishment time, and it will need to cure overnight to fully set. This extended drying time is great if you have a large surface embellishment that you need to cover, like a picture frame or a mirror, and you can spread it out thinly and evenly, or you can place it into the applicator syringe like you can see in the smaller video, and it will function very similarly to the previous examples. However, because of that drying time, if you are on a three-dimensional object, you do need to let it sit for an extended period before you start placing your rhinestones, because you could get crystal slippage because it's not yet fully tacky. Of course, the drying time is relevant to the amount of glue that you have, so if you want it to dry slightly quicker, you can place smaller amounts of the glue. For instance, here you can see I am using a toothpick method to place just small dots. And thanks to the strength and durability of this hard-wearing resin glue, it is perfect for embellishments that are going to get a lot of wear and tear. Another resin glue option you can find on our website is the Ninja Superflex adhesive. This glue has a 1-minute working time and a 5-minute cure, which is much faster than the other options. And there are a few different bits that come in the box. So you have a syringe and a few tips and a plunger. This is the syringe section itself, and you can see that it is a 2-part epoxy resin, and it comes sealed so that you don't end up mixing it by accident before you want to truly get started. So you need to remove the black rubber bit at the back, so that you can then open up the space for the plunger section, and you can see that they slot in perfectly like so, and now you are locked and loaded. Now we just need to add the tip onto the front, and this bit is especially unique to the Ninja Superflex because it mixes the resin inside. You can see the little orange bit inside that nozzle. That is how the glue mixes together, so that by the time it reaches the end, it is mixed and ready to be an active glue, which is capable of firmly bonding together rubber, metals, crystal and glass, plastic, leather, wood, seams, and is great for gap filling. Once you have finished applying the glue, you can then remove the mixing tip, and then you put the grey stopper back on to prevent the glue from being in contact with the air. Now, it is worth knowing that these needle tips are single use, which is why you will find replacement tips available on our Bluestreak Crystals website. So I've explained that we have 3 different types of resin glues that you could choose from our website. Now, which ones would you pick for which material? Let me explain. The CG500, because it dries completely clear, completely solid, almost like a pane of glass that was once glue, it's really good for ornaments and solid, hard-wearing materials. Like a rhinestone tumbler, for instance, that's going to get washed frequently. This will survive the washing process. It's also great for anything that's going to be going outside because it sets so solidly. E6000, on the other hand, is my preferred resin glue when it comes to garment embellishments. Like if you were going to embellish onto shoes, because it can work on all of these different materials, it will work on almost anything that you can think to put a rhinestone on. And also it bends slightly once it's set, so it makes it great for things that are going to flex, which is why this is my favourite one for shoe embellishments. The side effect of that slight flexibility, however, is if you're going to put it onto a solid surface, which would be better suited to the CG500 for instance, it does have a tendency to be peelable if you pull at it hard enough, because it does dry slightly rubbery. The Super Tight Superflex, our third and final option, is, in my opinion, the one that you use when you want a really fast result. Like you don't have time to let it sit there for ages, and it will give you a really strong and flexible bond. This could also be used on DIY fixes as well. The only trick with this one is because it dries so quickly, remember it's got a 1-minute drying time, the drying time commences the second it starts mixing in this tube bit here. So you have that much glue that you need to keep moving in order to not make it set in there. So it's always worth having it just slightly on the go, just a dollop of glue, one at a time, little bits, so that you keep this flowing. And of course, if you just want to do one long straight line and then place a large amount of crystals down in one big go, like if you were going to glue down Serinity Stardust, for instance, you can just sprinkle that like glitter and it'll stick, then that's great. Or if you have one big rhinestone that you need to have stick really quickly and solidly on a surface that might flex, I can imagine this would work very well with stones and settings. It is worth knowing that out of the 3 resin glues, this is the one that is really worth using gloves for if you're going to be using it, because it will hurt if you get it on your fingers. Don't ask me how I know. We at Bluestreak Crystals understand that when it comes to buying glues, it can seem like there are lots of different bits that you can buy and it can be quite involved. So we have introduced the Ultimate Glue Dispensing Kit, which will contain the E6000 Plus resin glue and some gem tack and some syringes with a selection of tips in different sizes, along with a magic sorting tray and a wax picker tool, which is a great way to get you started. This comes in a nice box, so it's like a gift, and between these 2 glues that are included in the box, you are going to be able to successfully glue together the majority of surfaces. Both the gem tack and the E6000 Plus can go into the syringes, and everything here works together, so you can't go far wrong. But what if you want to do Hotfix? Now, those of you who have been rhinestone embellishing for a while will know that there's more than one way to get a crystal to stick onto some fabric. Here we're going to talk about the Hotfix embellishment method. Now, these crystals have glue already on the back, and the way you make it stick is by using a Hotfix applicator tool. This heats up kind of like a soldering iron, and it melts the glue, which will get the crystal to stick to the fabric. And there are 3 different types, each with its own plug designed to suit a specific country. So there is a USA plug that you can see here, and then the same heat tool but with an EU plug, so we accommodate the 2 continents, and finally we have the UK plug, and the rest of the tool is exactly the same, enabling you to apply Hotfix crystals. Another approach you can use when it comes to Hotfix embellishment is the heat press tool, which is a much larger machine where you'd put all of the Hotfix crystals down in one go, and then you would put the protective layer over the top, and then you would press the machine down. This is a bit more of a specialist approach when it comes to Hotfix embellishment, and a DIY approach would be like using baking parchment and an iron, but you do lose the ability to see the crystals when you're applying the heat, so there is a little risk that they might move about, and you won't know this until you've already removed the paper and it's stuck like that now. So I personally prefer to do one crystal at a time with the tool because I can see exactly what I'm doing. Now, I know that there was a lot of information in this video about glue, so if you want a quick and easy way to check you've got the right glue for your surface, we do have a glue suitability chart on our website that you can check whenever you need to. I hope you've enjoyed this video on the subject of glues and how it relates to rhinestone embellishment. Feel free to pop over to our website where we have a very interesting projects section. Here you will find written out tutorial versions of some of the things you've seen on our social media, along with some handy diagrams and step-by-step instructions and exactly what you need that can all be purchased from our website, bluestreakcrystals.com. If you would like to see these glues in action, we have plenty of tutorial videos over here. If you found this video helpful or interesting and maybe even entertaining, feel free to like and hopefully subscribe if you haven't already. That's everything from me this week, and I hope to see you next time in the Bluestreak Crystal studio.